So hello and welcome to the 2025 UCI Mountain Bike World Championships. And welcome back if you have been watching the Women's Under-23 Championships. A thrilling and very exciting race. The clouds have cleared during the race and the sun came out for the very end of the women's race. The men's race at the moment is bathed in sunshine, but if there's one thing we know here for the men's Under-23 cross-country short track, the weather is likely to change and it could be pretty much anything.
Well, we nearly started in the rain for the women's Under-23 and finished in the sunshine. The men's Under-23 cross-country short track today, well, it's overcast here, but there is a glimpse of blue sky in Zermatt.
I'm not sure which window out of this commentary box you're looking. Oh, you're looking out the front window for the sunshine. There is some, I promise you, it's not just cloud, but it's almost more atmospheric. We've got loads of crowds here in Valais across all of the destinations. Valais being on the south side of Switzerland. It's a canton, so a region or a state, or a shire if you were, say, from Yorkshire. You would call shire being where you would reference you are from. And a bit like Yorkshire, there's lots and lots of green hills to ride on in between. Well, you don't get glaciers in Yorkshire, so fantastic to see the riders getting out and exploring the various areas from the Alice Arena where we kicked off the action right the way through Chambéry, through Monthey and down here into Zermatt in the shadow of the Matterhorn, this legendary mountain that dates back, the ascents go back a long time. Wimper, the first climber to ascend the mountain. Well, these riders are going out with a bang rather than a whimper because they do today have some of the best trails to get some practice and some training on. All here in what is a circle of some of the highest peaks. In fact, most of the high peaks here, the highest 10 peaks, are actually surrounding this area here in the Alps. As we look down on the crowds down here, the bouncy Abus Castle, got to say, one of my favourite features. Emma, have you been on the bouncy castle?
No, but I have been out on the course, and the course here in the shadow of the Matterhorn. It's short track today, so lots of laps of a short course, and that course we can see it here in the animation, 1300 metres in length, 70 metres of climb. I clocked it at 1100 metres when I took the racing line as I walked the course earlier on today.
Sure you didn't put a shortcut in?
What we do know is it is fast.
It's incredibly quick. Now, one of the key parts here, the climb up, out and round seems to be a good breaking point for riders. The rocky descent is there to catch out the unwary, but momentum is one of the key skills on this course today, and we've seen that. Now, we are going to desperately try not to reference previous races in these races so that you can go watch back the racing. Don't forget to make sure you do that. However, you can't do it just yet because we're about to get our men's Under-23 race underway. Always a really interesting one, and because of the volume of riders wanting to ride this race, we actually had qualification yesterday, an extra set of races to entertain everybody in Zermatt, and 2 sets of qualifications, and then the top riders from each of those going through to the finals.
Yeah, so the top 20 riders from each of the 2 heats going through. In Heat 1, 44 seconds separated the top 20 riders, and in Heat 2, 39 seconds separated the top 20 riders, so it just shows you how well packed those 2 races are.
And who will be able to challenge and take away the title. We are going to have a new champion, Riley Amos, the rider who took victory in Pal Arisol in Andorra, moving up.
Yeah, indeed, moving up into elite. The top place rider from 2024, Cole Punchard from Canada, was 5th in Pal Arisol last year. He is here on the start line today.
And as we take a little look at our riders warming up, Benjamin Kruger, definitely a rider to watch here today. Canada, well, without giving any spoilers away, they've certainly had a good start to the championship, and they had a lot of riders packing the race field at the top in the Under-23 women's race, in and around that top 10, and really competitive all the way through. The Netherlands can never be discounted from a short track race. It just seem to be so many great mountain bikers out there, and I mean, it's such a contrast between the terrain in Canada from the North Shore, coast to coast, to the Netherlands for certain. Yeah,
and I think that the 2 qualification heats yesterday determined the call-up today. They determined the places on the grid, and it really has played around a little bit with what you might expect the front row to look like.
Indeed, so our commissaire panel, the race referees, are keeping a check on the riders, and the way that it works, the call-up will be basically in order. So the commissaires are making not only a note of who came first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on, but also then the time of the rider as they went over the line in the men's race in those qualifications. So the fastest first place rider gets number 1 slot, the second fastest number 1 place rider takes second slot, then the fastest second place rider, and so on. It does mean that our top 8 riders have all performed in qualification, because this now supersedes UCI ranking. It supersedes whatever riders have done in the World Cup.
Accident earlier this season. He thought his season may be over, but he has come back strong with an invitation to the Worlds and a front row performance yesterday in qualifying. Canada from Canada, Zermatt.
So Zermatt, the first rider heading to the start line there. His best position of 45th, but on the comeback from injury, clearly with a great qualification. Now here's one man who is consistently one of Canada's best riders. 15th in round 7, his best in the World Cup so far, but a multi-time national champion. The 2 Canadian riders going to be followed here by a Swedish rider, Leo Luella, a 19-year-old, one of our younger riders in this under-23 competition. He was racing really strongly, 11th in the World Cup Series so far. He gets a front row start, as does Benjamin Kruger from Germany. Now, his best so far in the World Cup has been a second place, plus he's got a great start on this front row here. 6th overall in the World Cup, definitely a rider to watch, as is our rider from the Netherlands, 3rd overall in the World Cup. His best position there, a second place in round 5. Rens Tunissen van Malen, the Netherlands rider, who's our 4th to last rider to be called to the grid. Now the leader of the World Cup, 4 wins in rounds 4, 5, 6 and 7. He's got the momentum. He is a proven winner when it comes to championships. He's going to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Finn Trudler, the highest qualifying Swiss rider on home turf here in Zermatt. Adrian Boischi, well, a voyage back into the under-23. He's been racing within the elite mostly this season. A very talented rider on road and off, but my goodness me, watch out, he could well make the most of this position. Really didn't want to take the biggest advantage he could away from having to qualify and put himself up onto the front row after his ranking not quite there because of the lack of under-23 racing. Gustav Pedersen is going to be our last rider to lie second in the World Cup, a win in round number 3. But definitely, again, another rider to watch. And because these riders who qualified and were at the front of their race, they've got a race win in. They know what it is to win on this course. They know the positioning that's required. Emma, it's going to be key where you start here today. And I think because of that qualification in the men's race, the riders further back down this start list are really going to be up against it. Well,
and there's some riders further back down the start who wouldn't have expected to be there. 1 or 2 riders. Sandra Rocker is there. Rocker's had a World Cup win this year and some really strong performances, lying 4th overall in the World Cup Series. He's not on the front row.
And one rider that we maybe need to watch out for, not his best qualifying, but I know you were speaking to Max Greensill from Great Britain's parents and saying that he wasn't even expecting to be here. Now he is. He's going to look forward to it, and he's a rider that's going to have fun, I think. Yeah, he had an incident at round 7 of the World Cup and wasn't expecting to be at the World Championships, but he is, and he's made it through qualification into the final today. Anything can happen. So the riders now into the last 30 seconds. This is the 2025 UCI Mountain Bike World Championships. It's the men's under-23 short track competition.
They start within the next 15 seconds. Gentlemen, watch the lights.
So we're up and racing in the men's under-23 competition. A big kick off the line here that you can see. This is a huge bunch that is going to get compressed, and a great shot from the drone here, which shows you just how squeezed these riders are from 8 wide to 4 wide. They're shoulder to shoulder, and I think that was Tunison there just having to get the elbows out. I hope they got them sharpened before they came into this race, but a massive kick off from the line
Ian at the moment pushing and driving on the front. He took a massive push off of that start line and has led all the way into the first climb.
So important for these riders to make sure they get a great start and push on if they've taken advantage, if they manage to get up to the very front. As the bells ring out, will it be a change at the front? Well, we're definitely going to get a new world champion in the under-23 competition. Behind, we're looking for gaps. We're looking to see who's down there. A couple of people looking at wheels actually on that descent. They're just maybe just overrunning in, just carrying too much momentum, having to put the brakes on, not running to the back of anybody else. That's really, really key. Keep out of trouble on lap number 1. Now, the pattern that we saw emerging in the women's race was a pattern of no real gaps to start off early, and then we saw the break on the climb and over the top, and that there were lots of changes in the way through there, and lots of people moving position on the way through. We've seen at the moment that these riders really charging onto the climb.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a very different start here, and a real big push and drive from the Canadian rider Ackert, as he really wants to dominate here. And it's interesting going so early. We talked about this is going to be a 20-minute race. It's going to be as close to 20 minutes as the Commissaire team can manage, and there's many laps. Well, we'll know once we go through at the end of lap 1 how many laps we're going to have in this race. But this is an effort from the gun. Whether it's going to hold, whether it's going to stick, whether we're going to see a group come back together again, which I think is highly likely. It's a fantastic first lap from Ackert.
But you can see a push there by Finn Truller of Switzerland coming in through the line, pushing up over the top here. And you can see as those names come scrolling through, it's so quick at the moment. Hardly anything separating these riders in terms of seconds as they make their way in and through here.
Well, the fastest time in qualification yesterday was a 1:57 lap. We just had a 2:03 opener.
And that was from a standing start and just starting to build momentum to the line. We'll get a better indication now. Big move on the right-hand side here. Just seeing that Norwegian jersey move up there. I think that was Sondre Rock just making a move on the inside. Just going to keep a little bit of a check on here. It's going to be Fastervold who was in contention. So Fastervold moving up. He's got his countryman not that far behind inside the top 10 as well. So team tactics have been talked about a little bit by the teams here, particularly when we come down. So we descend down here carrying speed and momentum, and there's a little chicane as we move up onto the grass from the tarmac, from the asphalt. If teams can create a roadblock and let their teammate up over the top of the climb first, that would be a take, but I can't see that happening.
No, I think it's
everybody wants this too much.
I think it's a really difficult course to do that, because once you regroup and come out at the start and up on that main climb, you've got a big wide gap, but then you turn into the single track, you've got 1, maybe 2 riders, and what you're really seeing is just one long line of riders.
And what's not going to help that is that the course has been moved up a little bit. We've seen a second line developing there because of the erosion on the wider line on that section on the climb. The descent, well, there's not going to be much more erosion than the big bedrocks in here. The course designers putting in this twin line. They're very, very similar time-wise. A good ride on either line is faster than a bad line on the opposite line. As we come round to the end here of lap number 2, 2K done. They're absolutely flying here and go in over the line, and it is still Fastervold who's got the line from Trudel. Luana still in there, Ackert in the mix, Tunison is in there, Cole Puncher still holding top 10, so is Washi, Rocker just outside, Baudry, Spranger, Lawson, Clark in the mix here. Top 20 riders at the moment. I think that's 12 seconds separating the top 20, and I think the top 25 or so 16 seconds.
Yeah, it is that close at the moment, and you can see the big push from behind trying to get back onto the leading group before it goes clear and around the corner. This is the main part of the course that the riders are using to close down those gaps.
And great riding by Leo Luana, who goes in. The Swedish rider just really defending his position. He was on the outside around that turn. He's still holding that third place position. As a look over the shoulder there by Trudler, just seeing who has got position, who he's got with him, and what's the gap like, where are they? That single track section that's through over the top, it's very much about building on a lead if you've managed to get one. If you haven't got one, you're not going to extend it that much over the top unless you've got a little bit of a gap. Well,
Trudler, yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Trudler's won at the last 4 rounds of the World Cup. He's on the front of the race.
That's got some warning. Never mind the cowbells, it's going to be alarm bells that are going off.
Well, I think it's got to be because, he's got to be the favourite coming in. He's the rider on form and he's been dominating the under-23 short track. So, him going to the front has really got to be a message to everybody else.
It's up over this drying climb here as the rain has held off. The breeze that is just about blowing through here, just enough to help dry out the climb there. Not too slippery, not too greasy, and the speed picking up here as we come through towards the end of lap 3 over that step down into the final berm. Massive long look over the shoulder there from Finn Trudler, the rider with the number 2 plate on, and there's a bit of looking at each other. Anyone want to take this on? Anybody feel the need? Well, looks like there's going to be a push coming up here from Canadian Cole Punchard, who goes into that race lead as they go away from the end of lap number 3 and out onto course.
Well, slowest lap of the race so far. So a fast start in the men's under-23 cross-country short track world championships here in Zermatt. But wow, they may well just steady back off, take a look at each other, and someone's going to go again, and it's the Canadian on the front. Not content to let the groups come back, the push drives on.
And shoulder to shoulder, some a real battle. That's, I think, going to be our French rider Boischi. He was elbow to elbow there with Lunella as they came up. The 2 riders, I saw 3 or 4 real bounces against each other there. The commissaire team, the race referees, will be keeping an eye on that, I'm sure. As they make their way out and round, they have an enviable job, the commissaires. They've got to make the decision. What is fair racing? And don't think that cycling is a non-contact sport, because elbow to elbow and shoulder to shoulder is definitely part of short track racing.
But there is a very difference between deliberate action and race action.
There is. Unfortunately, I'm definitely not going to be making that decision. It is down to our commissaires to keep an eye on that and just see where that ends up. At the moment, you can see Boischi just backing off in 4th place. He'll be taking that momentum on as they go up on to that climb. You can just see trying to drive on to the back wheel of Nala as they go over the top here, though. And interesting, Rens Tudison van Malen, the rider from the Netherlands here, not letting the gap go smart, though. Goes down the alternate line. So when the race leader goes one way, taking that other line in case there's an issue, because that would then hand the race lead over to him. And getting that room for manoeuvre, that room and that space, a real key feature of mountain bike, and it's a skill riders need to learn and reinforcing themselves, because you get caught on the wrong line behind somebody, and that can be race over, particularly on such a short race.
So Cole Punchard leads them through at the end of lap 4. Rens Tunison van Manen in 2, Adrian Boissy in 3, Leo Llewellyn in 4, Finn Trudler in 5, Ian Ackert in 6, Gustav Pedersen in 7. Just 1 second separating those top 7 riders.
I'm just going to take another look at these riders into the descent, making their way down here. It's definitely going to rattle a few teeth on the way down there as the leaders come into this right-hand turn. And now Boischi on the inside just makes a move on to the rider from the Netherlands, Tudison van Manen, and just squeezes in. It's such a key point, that right-hand turn. When you're riding around or you're walking around the course, it looks so innocuous, but all the riders know it's the pinch point coming into the single track. And it was somewhere you flagged as you came back, because you did your course walk first. You were out on that course, and you said that when you go to single track, that's so key on this course.
Yeah, and it's about getting your position right, getting, if you want to attack, for example, on the single track, or even coming into this section when you come back into the arena. You come back on this long sweeping descent and into the arena, and then up onto the grass bank that drops you in. Actually, to get on the front of the pack, here you've got to be at the top, at the front of the pack on the climb going out. That is the selection point really for getting into this section in 1. well, the selection points out on the course, the riders are going to be paying close attention to it because they are all looking for the best line. They're all looking for how they get to the top spot. And Punchard at the moment from Canada still in one at the moment. It looks like Adrien Boissy from France has gone into 2.
Well, Bosch's move on that inside turn, moving him into position, holding it all the way down here, and you can see that seems to be the key point. Behind, the gaps are starting to open. So from our initial 40 riders, the gaps are really opening out on those riders behind our race leaders, and 1 minute covering the top 40 riders at the end of lap number 3. Lap number 4, 40 seconds at the top, 39 riders, with one rider I think going to be pulled from the race. Riders have to stay within 80% of the race leader's time, and you do see riders being removed from the race because basically you can't have somebody being overtaken on the course this short, this tight, this close, and so critical. A world title at stake. Big sprint on here though.
Well, I'll tell you something, Sondre Rocker has moved himself up into 5th at the end of lap number 5. 3 riders from Norway were in that bunch, and Rocker, well, he's the rider putting himself in the best position at the moment.
But he's got to keep that momentum and keep driving on to keep pushing to the front. The key time, as any racer, winning racer will tell you, the only time you really need to be at the front is when you reach that finishing line. And quite often in this race, because there is a limit to how many times you can go on the front, you want to be there or thereabouts, but you need to make your race winning move a winning move and not just an attempt, because you can only attempt so many times and then you're going to run out of steam. There's just only so many times you can kick. Those riders coming from the back having to work the way in and through. So Punchard, after taking the lead, still defending from Boissy, from Tunissen Van Manen, from Trudler, Rook, Lunella, along with Pedersen, Pastoval, then Akat and Stubbard. They were the top 10 at the end of the last lap as they come through. That group are starting to pull clear. Oh, little mistake there. And Lunella, you could see the momentum went there. That back wheel spun up. He went down. The body went forward. He's lost a couple of places, but he didn't lose enough traction. He had enough momentum to keep moving and to get over the top there. And it has propelled him slightly further back through this group. But I think we're going to see maybe a little bit of a slowing here, because I think the riders behind just starting to come back onto our leading group. Let's see what that lap time was. Remember, the fastest lap time has been sub 2 minutes, but a moment, and that was in qualification yesterday. Today, I think that's going to be a slow lap.
It's the slowest lap of the race, and you can see the width of the pack across the track at the moment. It really has slowed and steady. We started with around a 2:03, that was a 2:09, and the rest of the laps have been anywhere in between. So it's been a really strong pace here, and now they seem to have, well, I wanted to say, have a selected group at the front. It's one long line still. This race could well be anybody's.
It can, and a massive kick coming on the side. I tell you something, Finn Trudler really has been pushing as he comes in here. He knows he wants to go hard. He wants to use this time. He's got Tunissen beside him. Then you've got Boissy just being pushed back here, and it's a little washing machine at the front, a little bit of one rider, then another rider. One rider moving up through here. Gustav Pedersen is moving his way steadily up the front, and almost a bit like a track race. When you're coming in through towards the finish, you don't want to be on the front at the wrong time with the wrong number of laps to go. You want to be coming to the front just as you come in towards the end of the race. If you're on the front with 5 to go, you're going to have to come back off and come back on again.
But you've also still
got to be in the right place.
Yeah, you have got to be in the right place, because you've got to be in the mix. You can't, not be able to respond to a change of pace at the front because you're too far down this group. So whilst you might want to sit back slightly, you don't really want to sit back too far.
Well, too far for me at the moment. It's probably outside the top 16 or so riders, because that would take you from being within 10 seconds to outside of 10 seconds. I think that's just too much to make up. That was at the end of the last lap. Interesting to see that push from Trudler as he came in through this time around. All this leading group going through pretty smoothly here. Jack Spranger has been holding the top 10 or thereabouts quite well. So, just hovering. Nicholas Holter of Switzerland also doing the same as they come in over the step down here into that right hand turn round the berm. They're going to come to the line once again. It's going to be 15 minutes or so of racing done as they come through to complete lap 7. How many riders can look round simultaneously over their right hand shoulder? They're all looking to see who's going to put a kick in.
They are, and it's a track down the road that they need to be looking at, because we are now on lap 8 of 10. 3 laps to go in this cross-country short track for the under-23 men here at the World Championships. And Trudler in one. The Swiss rider has got to want to take the home win. The fact that these World Championships are on home soil must really mean something.
Here we go on to the climb again. Trudler puts the elbows out, goes low over the bars, push on the right-hand side this time round. And that's come from Gustav Pedersen. Pedersen comes up into second place, and a good move by him there. That has propelled him up inside the top 3 there. So just taking a look as they come in through here, you can just see him coming down that slope there. So Gustav Pedersen of Denmark, the fastest rider in qualifying. Won his heat, and the fastest rider in qualifying. Going to be very interesting to see if he is going to be able to take away another win. Once you've won on the track, it does give you the confidence. You know what you need to do. He's moved his way up towards the end of this race at lap 8 of 10, the lap that's in progress at the moment.
Well, Rens Tunissen van Manen from the Netherlands back on the front of the pack. Steady state pacing at the moment in this race. Boischi is there, Ponchard is there, Pedersen, Trudler, Lunella, all in the mix. Ackert from Canada is still towards the front of the race as well.
And you can just see, that was a great camera shot to see how that track has been taken from a chicane in towards almost a straight line up and carrying momentum up. I wonder if it will go back down again as we start to see the course dry. That's an interesting call by the commissaires and the course designers. They choose to make it harder again as it gets drier, but that can happen between races. These riders have to know and learn to adapt to the course as it changes, because that is mountain biking. It's not velodrome, it's not indoors. You don't keep the temperature at a fixed 29.6 degrees. This is all about making sure you go down, and Trudler puts a massive dig down the outside here. He's gone through well. Interesting move with 2 to go, because Trudler, as they came through the line, had put a spurt down the side. They wanted to keep that pace high. I think he was aware that there was quite a group coming up behind them. So Trudler goes on to the front. He's continuing to push this home here as he comes round, and the answer's coming from Tunissen van Manen. Boischi in 3rd place, and they're scrambling for wheels now.
Yeah, and it's Pedersen who's missing out here. Pedersen in 4th at the moment, and he's going to have a gap to close down, because Boischi has just gone round. He too wants to be right at the front as they go round into the single track. Boischi right on the wheel of Trudler.
And behind, it's all scrambles. Cole Ponchard, really the leading Canadian at the moment, starting to close the gap down. Lunella also in the mix, but further down, these 3, are they going to be able to pull clear of Pedersen? They've got the gap. This was the work that was done as they came over the top. Finn at Trudler, the rider who put the attack going down the straight. Boischi closed it down with Tunissen van Manen, but now the gaps are opening as the cowbells ring out. It's a Swiss rider on the front who is making the race action here in Zermatt in Valais in Switzerland, the 2025 UCI Mountain Bike World Championships.
It's looking like 5 riders now are starting to go clear. In fact, this small group, 2, then a 1, then a 2, but these 5 riders now with a gap back to the rest.
And that gap will now be critical as we go around. This is lap 9. It will be complete, and it will be 1 to go when they hit the line next time as they go in towards the arena. That line is inviting them down. They're on the way down here. Really interesting riding there by the Canadian Ponchard. He's taking that left-hand line for the riders on the way down, weaving his way down there. He's not using that right-hand line, maybe losing a little bit of ground as they go through. This is lap 9. Here they go. This will be key. How late dare they leave it? We have 4 riders at the front, and again it's going to be Trudler who's going to wind it up as they come out. Trudler now move on the right hand side. Boischi comes to the front. He's held 2nd place. He's not taken the race lead till now. Has he been saving something for his time? 5 riders in a line now going through. Trudler, Boischi, Ponchard, Tunissen van Manen and Pedersen on the slopes, and this is the Swiss man wanting to take this on home turf. Does he want it the most? Oh, Boischi comes on the left hand side. They're shoulder to shoulder. Boischi's not going to do it. It's going to force him all the way out into the tape.
They know that corner is absolutely crucial to winning this race, and this is the final lap.
Last lap, they're on the way. Big move there Finn Trudler, he knew Boashi was strong, he knew he'd been waiting, but he didn't let him take his chance. Boashi staying with Trudler. They've now got a gap to the riders behind. Pedersen trying to get this gap back down. Time is running out. They're a long way up in the Swiss hills here. The Swiss leader has the Frenchman behind him. Boashi will want to take this. Can he do something special? There are limited opportunities left now, as behind you can see that Pedersen and Punchard are the riders chasing, and Tunissen Van Manen now disappearing out and away from a medal chance onto the climb. This is their sprint. Boashi carries the momentum, but look at this. The Swissman's on the front now. Punchard comes on the side here. The battle of the third and fourth place is going to go down into the descent. Who's going to risk the most here? Trudler goes down. Boashi almost takes it down on the front wheel there. They've held it together. This is the run though for the line. Who can carry momentum round this final berm? Boashi's lining this up for the sprint. Trudler's leading this out. Finn Trudler's leading this out. Here comes Boashi. Can he come alongside the Swissman here? He's going to take it by a whisker. Surely, I'm sure that is going to be Boashi from Trudler. It's going to go to a photo finish behind the Canadian Cole Punchard. He has got the third place, the bronze medal from fourth place, Pedersen. That is going to come down to a photo finish. And that is how they will decide who came through first there. I wonder if they came in over the line, whether they knew who had got that. Boashi on the floor absolutely gave it everything. He sprinted his way through. Now, we're just taking a look at our race results here. Boashi now, I think, is going to be confirmed as our race winner here. Ahead, so Adrian Boashi of France should be taken away. I think the government, he does. You can just see as they hit the line, Boashi is ahead there. It's only by a quarter of a wheel, half a spoke length. That is nothing. Boashi is spent though. What a ride by Adrian Boashi. He's a rider who is doing great things, and for a rider who came here after racing the under-23 so little, he would have come in buoyed by racing better riders, you know, the elite riders, but you've still got to do it on the day, and he waited and waited.
But what a race. He did wait and wait, and he didn't come to the front of the race. But I have to say, Finn Trudler from Switzerland, he gave that absolutely everything. Every single opportunity, every single lap, he drove that race. Well, he's rewarded with a silver medal. It's not the colour he may well have wanted, but he has gone straight over to Adrian Boashi for congratulations. So Adrian Boashi takes the 2025 UCI Mountain Bike World Championship cross-country short track title in the men's under-23 race, and it went down to the wire.
It certainly did. That's going to be a very disappointing Finn Trudler. He did so much work in his home race here. He battled, he attacked, he sprinted, he really wanted to move. So you can just see the photo here, because that is Boashi literally in the photo finish. He's just making his way on the banking directly behind the commentary box, actually, at the moment. He's definitely, I don't think I've seen Boashi ever move so slow as this. He's certainly put absolutely everything into that. Part of mountain biking is giving it everything, putting what you can into that day, into that moment, whether that's racing against your mates or you're racing for a world title. The French are going to certainly be pleased with that result here as Adrian Boashi makes his way down backstage. Finn Trudler, the rider who took second place for the Swiss, will be rewarded with a silver medal, but I think maybe it'd take a little bit of time. But I don't think he could have done much more, maybe just a little bit too much work, but you can see him being consoled there by his teammates. Cole Punchard, a great result for him here today. An absolute battle as he fought his way round against Pedersen, against Rock, Tunissen Van Manen, who faded in those later stages to sixth. Inakup was up and challenging at the front, but not to be his day today. He ended up with seventh place. Holt of Switzerland taking eighth, but no stopping Adrian Boashi today. He got a lead out from Finn Trudler. Boashi sprinted, he came down on an across, he went to the right hand side, and it all came down to that final push to the line. You can see Trudler starting to fade, pushes too early. Boashi drives through the line, and that seemed to make the difference.
Adrian Boishy, congratulations, 2025 Mountain Bike Short Track World Championships. You must be so happy.
Yeah, it's hard to compute at the moment. It's been such an eventful race. I had probably the worst start ever. I had massive pressure. I really wanted to win, and last year I couldn't do it. I finished second in 2023, and last year I had a bad year, so it was my comeback, and yeah, I had the worst start ever. I was maybe P15, and I overtook as many as possible. That was a massive effort, and then yeah, I found again my legs towards the end, but I didn't play the last climb very well. I let Finn attack first, and then I had the legs to come past him, but I was on the outside, so he kind of pushed me wide, which is a game, and I just said I can't give up. And I think I took the rock garden really well, and I came out with a lot of speed, and yeah, in the last corner I just gave it absolutely everything. I could see Finn's wheel and my wheel, and we really were sprinting full, and I'm so happy I could take the win.
Did you know you had it when you came over the line?
Yeah. I could see I had more speed, and yeah, I just overtook him, but congrats to Finn, that was a beautiful race.
It was absolutely fantastic, and congratulations, world champion for 2025.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's my third world title, and hopefully not the last one.
Thank you.
Well, brilliant to hear from Adrian Boishy there. Knowing that he had it over the line, he couldn't give it up. He just went down that rock garden. I'm not sure that he actually touched very many spots on the way through, and that's the way to do it. The class riders only hitting those key points for grip on the way through, carry as much speed. You can see building for this sprint. He just lays off a little bit on that bank and comes in dry, so it goes on the right-hand side, pushing his way to the line. He had the momentum, he had the drive. It came down to that last push in through. He had that speed. Well, he's hoping it's not going to be his last title. I'm sure it won't. What a way to make a comeback. Adrian Boishy taking top spot from Finn Trudler, the man who really did activate the race from the front there. He'll take away second place with the silver medal, and Cole Punchard taking third place, taking the bronze. The full results available on www.uci.org. All the links to mountain biking, to the event hub for the cross-country short track, for the enduro, for the downhill, whatever flavour of mountain biking takes your fancy. Well, I think pretty much all of it here, one way or another, here in Valley, and all the results on the website, as well as the links to the various venues and what's still coming up across this fantastic 2 weeks of competition. You can catch up with all of the race programme at www.valley2025.ch. So let's take a look back at the race here from the race start. A big kick off from the line. Massive bunch having to thin itself down. There was plenty of battling, and from the word go, Finn Trudler, this Swiss run on home, took really battling. As we came into those later stages, Tunison van Manen from the Netherlands was able to go with the pace of Trudler. So was Boishy. Cole Punchard making that a group of four, joined very quickly, in fact, by Pedersen. He got into the mix, but Gustav Pedersen of Zermatt couldn't go with the final kick. The real kick in up to that finish, and saw the real drift wide on the climb. Being pushed wide was Boishy as it came down into the rock garden. Boishy there absolutely nailing the downhill, coming around that turn and into the sprint. And for all that work, truly giving best to the Frenchman, who takes away the race win. France with the gold medal, Switzerland with the silver. The bronze medal will be going to Canada, as we start to see the Matterhorn starting to appear out of the clouds. This iconic mountain here in Switzerland overlooks Zermatt, looking down on the race action. The blue skies are starting to take prominence here, and they're going to be down on our women's elite and our men's elite races that will be following very shortly indeed. And of course, our podium celebrations, our medal ceremonies for our top riders. So fantastic racing, brilliant racing from all of our riders so far in our under 23 competition. The future's bright in both the women's and the men's competition. Make sure you keep up with cycling, keep up with Valley, hashtag Valley 2025, with @UCI_cycling and with UCI.org. We will be back for the elite races, our women's elite and men's elite. That will leave you with the action from the men's under 23 short track world championships for 2025.